Welcome to Daily Divinity. Whoop, 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 whoop. You've arrived at the Page of Swords. If you're curious about the Page of Swords, you might be curious about the other swords cards, in which case you can go to my overview of the suit of the swords from the tarot deck. I have a video where I deep dive into that suit in particular, and I also have a video overall about Tarot 101, how to read the Celtic Cross, this, that, and the other. Okay, if you're here for just the Page of Swords, then you're in luck because it's a deep dive. So in the next approximately 10 minutes, we are going to look at the agenda for today is 3 big words that describe the Page of Swords, a visual description of the imagery that you see in the card, so we can really make sure we don't miss anything. We'll look at the meaning of the imagery, and we will also discuss questions to help you in discerning what advice and guidance the Page of Swords may be telling you. Thank you for watching, and please make sure to like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to this channel. Let me know, even if it's privately through email or publicly in the comment section, what you want to see more of, what questions do you have, what part of tarot or astrology or runes or handwriting, numerology, divination generally have you always wondered, and can I be the person to help give that insight? Okay, Page of Swords. Let's start with the 3 words that I would use to describe the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, I would say, is curious, um, dare I say, a little arrogant. I don't think that's the right word, and yet I can't think of another word. We'll explain. We'll talk about that. So let's just put arrogant-esque for right now. Curious, question mark, arrogant, as well as communicative. Yeah. So curious, a little arrogant, and communicative. Visual. What does the Page of Swords look like? What does the Page of Swords include? What's like standard qualities of a Page of Swords? The the Page of Swords, front and center, there is a figure that takes up most of the rectangular card. Um, Behind the figure is a clear blue sky with some clouds, and there is a tiny, relatively tiny, but you can tell it's large in the distance, relatively tiny in the image, mountain peak with very like rugged and jagged edges that um, dominate the lower section, the very lower section of the card, about 20% of the bottom. Positioned to the um, kind of left of the card is that figure that I mentioned, and man almighty, this figure is large and in charge. This youthful person takes up almost the entire card, to the point where their sword is actually coming out of the card, like out of the frame of the card. The sword is cut off at the top. Um, and the page is holding the sword with, first of all, both arms like a baseball bat, which I heard a wonderful tarot reader mention this um, aspect of the Page of Swords, and I thought, wow, I've never considered that the Page of Swords is literally holding the sword like a baseball bat. Learn tarot with Sue. Shout out to Sue. Over the shoulders, the page wears a flowing pale blue cloak. Um, and a kind, well, actually, it's not true, isn't it? Okay, let me we'll start over. Okay. So the page is wearing kind of a an undergarment as well as a overgarment. And the undergarment is yellow and the overgarment is pink. The undergarment is like tights and a tight shirt, and the overgarment is pink. Um, there are tall red boots that the page is wearing, and their feet are planted on the kind of uneven, jagged ground that I mentioned before. The page I mentioned is holding the sword with both hands. One of the hands is gripping the sword securely, and the other hand is kind of supporting a different part of the blade. The sword itself is silver with a somewhat golden handle and a um, the blade extends past the page's head, and again, I mentioned this before, past the card itself. The page is not looking at the weapon. I find this interesting. The page is looking away from the weapon, um, and kind of in the opposite direction of how it's holding the sword, scanning the horizon and looking out into the distance. And the last thing to mention is probably that the mountains are on a downward slope. Um, yeah, okay, great. So we've reviewed the Page of Swords visually. What is the meaning of the Page of Swords? So I would say the overall meaning of the Page of Swords is a mixture. Let's break it down in terms of what the page stands for, what the swords stand for, and how that all intersects. The pages are known to be playful and childlike representation within the court cards. There are four court cards: the page, the knight, the queen, the king, and those four figures, personalities, you might say, represent a person, a member, an archetype in a family. So, child, teenager, mom, dad, respectively. The page, as playful children do, is known to be a messenger, kind of a not fool necessarily, but a bringer of messages, kind of like unexpectedly, but also completely expectedly. Um, I said curious because, as one of the three words for the Page of Swords, because these swords are a very mental suit. These swords are the air suit of the tarot minor arcana, and they have a lot to do with your headspace, right? The swords are in the air, they're in the clouds, they're up above, the head is up above, it's in the sky, it's in the air. Your beliefs, your attitudes, your mindset. And so the messenger figure, the childlike, curious, playful figure, their message, it has a lot to do with mindset and ideas. And so the swords, because they're very intellectual and cognitive, they often are very communicative. And so you would, you know, therefore it makes sense that the messenger archetype that is mixed in with the suit that represents the intellect is communicative, right? So there's that word. There's what that word is about in this particular case. The Page of Swords, in terms of questions to ask when this comes up in a reading, what messages do you not need to hear? I would say what messages do you need to hear is more of a Queen of Swords question. In this case, I would say, what information are you curious about? A question to get yourself thinking about the Page of Swords is, what information are you curious about? What information are you playing with right now? And the Page of Swords, now let's talk about arrogant, because that word is missing in action. Why is the page arrogant? Well, the page, remember, represents the child, and yet the page is enormous. Now, children are very often, especially confident children, have this kind, and again, I go back to the fact that it is not, arrogant is not the right word. It's just not. But I can't think of a better word, so we're just going to go with that word. There is a misinformation in the Page of Swords head about the capabilities of the Page of Swords. Like, it has not matured. It is not even the Knight of Swords who is making the quick decision to do the thing. It's not even there yet. It's just in the ideation stage. The Page of Swords has not even done the thing, has not even started the thing. So the messages that are coming from the Page of Swords are a little arrogant in the sense that, like, bro, like, what are you even going on? Like, what do you really know? But they do know something. So what ideas, what beliefs, what mindsets are you playing with? Are you curious about? And why do you think they're coming up? Okay, second question I would suggest to ask when this card comes up is, how can you nurture those ideas and that mindset? What actions can you take, right, to enable that positive change to take place? How can you get the Page of Swords to go from in intuiting some message, but overall not really understanding it, to using that message and understanding it? How can you take the page from the page to the knight, to the queen, to the king? How can you evolve that idea, that mindset, that belief, attitude, etc.? Um, okay, that's it. So we went over the three words, even though one of them was kind of a and we went through the visual of the Page of Swords. We went through the meaning, and we went through some questions. And of course, for context, I would say, as always, make sure to look at the different cards that come up. Make sure to incorporate the mood, the energy that is coming from you, the person that is getting the reading, as well as perhaps the reader. Sometimes the energy of the reader is loud and in charge, and it's important to incorporate that and factor that into the interpretation. Stay divine, stay blessed. Like, comment, and subscribe to let me know that this is valuable to keep doing this. Be well, everyone.